morning and a very warm welcome. You're watching the Breakfast Rundown on TV1. I'm Therunee Karunaratne, and as always, we're coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. Well, it's the start of a brand new week, and this morning too, we're ready to bring to you details of all the top stories from both here at home and around the world. Do stay tuned with us for the news in detail. Now, this morning's bulletin, we will be starting off with an international news item, a headline-making one. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen in Brussels, Belgium, ahead of a scheduled meeting with US President Donald Trump. Zelensky arrived in Belgium yesterday to discuss the upcoming meeting set to take place in Washington, D.C. today with Trump. The discussions are expected to focus on the ongoing war and Ukraine's diplomatic priorities. During his meeting with von der Leyen, the EU Commission President reaffirmed that international borders cannot be altered by force and emphasized Ukraine's right to defend itself without restriction. She further stated that the European Union remains steadfast in its support for Ukraine's path toward full EU membership. Now, in a post on X, President Zelensky said Russia continues to reject numerous ceasefire proposals and has yet to show any indication of ending the violence or halting civilian killings. Responding to Zelensky's request, Ursula von der Leyen confirmed in her own post on X that she would be joining President Trump and other European leaders at the White House today for further talks. Now, as we mentioned earlier, US President Donald Trump will host Volodymyr Zelensky today for their first meeting since the pair's heated exchange in the White House earlier this year. But this time, the Ukrainian president is bringing his European allies. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte and UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer are among the leaders who will join Zelensky in Washington for talks on how to end the war with Russia. It follows Trump's summit with Russian leader Vladimir Putin in Alaska that resulted in the US president dropping a demand for a ceasefire and calling instead for a permanent peace deal. A US envoy said on Sunday that Putin had agreed to a possible NATO-like security pact for Ukraine. Also heading to Washington for today's meeting are French President Emmanuel Macron, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, Finnish President Alexander Stubb, and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. For so many heads of state to travel with such little notice across the Atlantic to what is essentially a wartime crisis meeting appears without precedent in this modern era, underscoring the sky-high stakes. Diplomatic sources say European officials are concerned that Trump may try to press Zelensky to agree to terms after Ukrainian leader was excluded from the Trump-Putin meeting on the US soil last Friday. Now, meanwhile, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi is scheduled to arrive in India today for a two-day official visit. The visit is expected to focus on discussions regarding the long-standing border disputes in the Himalayan region. According to reports, Wang Yi's visit aims to address tensions that have remained unresolved since the deadly clashes between Chinese and Indian troops along the Himalayan border in 2020. This will mark the second high-level meeting between Chinese and Indian representatives since those violent confrontations. Foreign Minister Wang Yi is expected to hold talks today with India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. Further discussions regarding the border dispute are scheduled to take place tomorrow morning. Now, Indian media also report that the Chinese Foreign Minister is expected to meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi during the course of his visit. With that, let's move on to some news here at home. Now, all postal workers across the country have launched a strike action citing 19 key demands, including the proper payment of overtime allowances and the need to address employee shortages. The strike began at all postal offices at midnight yesterday, while employees of the Central Mail Exchange in Colombo joined the protest from 4 p.m. The trade unions leading the strike include the Postal and Telecommunications Officers Union and the Joint Postal Trade Union Alliance. They claim that issues at hand have been unresolved for too long, prompting collective action. Among these 19 demands are proper calculation and payment of overtime allowances, immediate recruitment to fill long-standing vacancies, solutions to operational issues in the Postal Transport Division, and the implementation of the proposed 3-tier salary increments for frontline officers. Now, convener of the Joint Postal Trade Union Alliance, Chintaka Bandaras, says that the Postmaster General held preliminary discussions with them regarding these 19 demands. However, those talks have ended in failure. He added that two of the most critical issues are the overtime allowances and the implementation of the fingerprint attendance system. While acknowledging that overtime payments have increased in proportion to recent salary hikes, Bandaras said that there has always been a specific method used historically by the Department of Posts to calculate overtime payments per hour. He went on to note that that method has now been changed, resulting in reduced payments for overtime already worked. Now, despite this ongoing strike, Postmaster General Ruan Satkumaras says that over 3,000 sub-post offices remain open and operational. However, all leave for employees of the Department of Posts has now been suspended with immediate effect from yesterday until further notice. Meanwhile, supplementary medical professionals attached to 31 hospitals across the Western Province are set to launch trade union action starting tomorrow. The protest is being staged in opposition to the implementation of transfer orders, which the professionals claim have been issued without proper consultation or fairness. Now, 7 categories of healthcare professionals will participate in this action, including radiological technologists, medical laboratory scientists, allied health officers, speech therapists, pharmacists, and other supplementary staff. General Secretary of the Joint Council for Professions Supplementary to Medicine, or JCPSM, Chanaka Dharmavikrama, stated that discussions on transfer issues have been ongoing with relevant authorities in the Western Province for over a year. However, he noted that no meaningful steps have been taken to address this matter, leaving professionals with no choice but to resort to trade union action. The trade union action is expected to affect operations in several key hospitals in the province. Now, the Department of Railways says that train operations on the coastal line are running as scheduled today, following the successful derailment of the Galukumari train, which was derailed earlier. According to the department, the Galukumari train, operating from Maradana to Beliatta, was derailed near the Ginthota railway station on the afternoon of the day before yesterday. One track was restored and reopened for train movement by around 12 noon yesterday, allowing limited services to resume. Damage to the railway track occurred due to the derailment, and visuals showed the extent of this impact. As derailments continue to occur frequently, Newsfirst reached out to the president of the Railway Station Masters Union, Sumedha Somaratne, to inquire about the causes behind this recurring issue. He stated that there are several reasons behind the frequent derailments, with one of them being the poor condition of the railway lines and another being the outdated state of the carriages. He added that these incidents occur because proper maintenance is not being carried out. Somaratne went on to note that if necessary measurements are not taken immediately, train operations could come to a disastrous halt by the end of this year. Let's move on to some more local news for this morning. The Ministry of Education says that the first phase of the third school term for all government and government-approved private schools in Sri Lanka begins today. This phase is scheduled to continue until the 17th of October. The ministry also announced that the second phase of the third term will be held from Monday, the 17th of November to Friday, the 19th of December. And now on to our weather forecast for today. The Met Department says that several spells of showers will occur in the western and Sabaragamuwa provinces and in the Kandy, Nuwara Eliya, Galle and Mathura districts. A few showers may occur in the northwestern province as well. Mainly fair weather will prevail over elsewhere of the island. Strong winds of about 40 to 50 kilometers per hour can be expected at times over the western slopes of the central hills and in the northern, north central, northwestern and southern provinces and in the Trincomalee district. Well, that brings to a close this morning's edition of the Breakfast Rundown on TV1. I'm Therunee Karunaratne. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Do join us tomorrow as well. Same time, same place for more of the very latest from here at home and around the world. Take care. Have a wonderful day ahead.